The government in the United Kingdom has taken control of privately owned business British Steel in the past few weeks, and it concedes that nationalisation is also a possibility. This follows the United Kingdom Parliament passing legislation known as the Steel Industry Special Measures Bill in early April to authorise what could eventually be a full takeover by government. Nationalisation is a very serious move, and its unintended consequence could be to distort competition in markets. But is there something more driving these events? Let's find out. Welcome to Climate Mondial's Energy and Climate Weekly. This is a channel dedicated to providing information on energy and environmental markets and policies from around the world. I'm Dr. Daniel Rossetto, the host of the channel. Given these latest developments in the United Kingdom, I would like to ask, is subsidisation or nationalisation of the steel industry a good thing for the United Kingdom? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. The British steel plant at Scunthorpe, the last one in the United Kingdom that can still make virgin steel, was effectively placed under the government's operation earlier this month. When we say virgin steel, we are talking about using the traditional basic oxygen and blast furnace technology. This is the process by which iron ore is reduced to pig iron using metallurgical or coking coal. British Steel had been planning to convert to electric arc furnaces so that it could eventually make more use of domestically available scrap steel. Only a few weeks prior, the plant's owner, Jinye Group, had rejected a £500 million package from the government. The owners had been making plans to reduce the blast furnace's operation, and some people believe it was diverting deliveries of iron ore and metallurgical coal in preparation for this. Most observers understood that the Scunthorpe-based blast furnaces were approaching the end of their useful life anyway, and would eventually need to be replaced with electric arc furnaces, though this is happening much faster than many had expected. Jinye, which is one of the world's largest steel-producing conglomerates, took ownership of the plant only in 2020. The fact that just 5 years later the plant is in the process of being nationalised is therefore a very big surprise indeed. And the plot thickens. Only a few months ago, just before the British steel crisis unfolded, the UK government released a draft strategy in an attempt to boost the local steel industry. Among the main questions the government posed to stakeholders in the strategy were, first of all, how to deal with low-cost steel coming from abroad, which some believe is pushing locally produced steel out of the market. Another question, how to stimulate demand for UK-made steel. How to prevent carbon leakage, whereby stringent environmental constraints on UK producers might actually be making them less competitive. A further question was how UK steelmakers could target production of green steel while at the same time remaining globally competitive. In addition, whether direct reduction technologies which would use green hydrogen instead of metallurgical coal were going to be viable. A further question was how to make more use of the scrap steel generated in the UK, of which a very large proportion is actually exported. The government would also like to understand the influence that high electricity prices in the UK has on competitiveness of steel production. And finally, whether any subsidisation is needed. These are all extremely important questions, but there is also potentially a lot of contradiction in there. Importantly, however, this strategy was only released a few months ago. Have the 25% Trump tariffs on steel had anything to do with these recent events? Has the prospect of more imported steel coming into the UK become a problem, so-called dumping, now that selling to the US is going to be more difficult for international steel producers? You may be wondering how the UK has been faring in recent times as a steel-producing nation. Well, I've put together some statistics here to compare the United Kingdom with other European countries that also make steel. As you can see from the line in red, since 2000, the UK has produced a relatively low amount of steel when compared to countries like France, Italy, Germany, Poland or Russia. Its production has also fallen by about half over that time frame. On one hand, this could be regarded a problem. Steel is an important input to defence industries. Not having a competitive domestic steel industry, one might argue, could therefore be reducing the UK's defensive capabilities. The UK still has a lot of people working in the steel industry, and those people may find it hard to get another job if factories close down. Perhaps this is the main issue. On the other hand, if it is cheaper to import steel than it is to produce it locally, then UK steel consumers are likely to be better off with the status quo. Let's not forget, every pound that goes into subsidising domestic steel production has to be diverted away from other worthy causes, like for example the National Health Service or education, for example. And so to conclude, usually subsidies are reserved for those activities that generate a benefit for society. Is that the case for steelmakers? Outright nationalisation of a business is even more tricky, as it means that the government will be in a business competing with other private companies. What I would like to know from you is whether subsidising or even nationalising the steel industry is in fact worthwhile. Do you think that national security and defence industry arguments justify making taxpayer contributions to businesses in the steel sector? How strong do you think the link is between decarbonisation of the electricity system and the competitiveness of steel production? Is there any link between the arrival of the Trump administration's 25% tariffs on steel and protective measures that are being taken not just in the UK but also around the world? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon in the next episode of Climate Mondial's Energy and Climate Weekly. If you liked today's video, be sure to click like and subscribe. This is a fantastic way to support the channel, and it will really help me to make the videos that you want to see. So thank you very much, and bye for now.